He is the star of the appropriately named Ross Tucker podcast. Stunning if it had another name. You should follow him on all the socials at rosstucker.com. He also is doing something with futurefans.com. We'll get to that in a second, Ross Tucker. It is good to see you, friend. What's new?
Likewise. Loving this time of year, man. Actually getting a little bit of family time. I'm following everything going on with OTAs and mini camps and the scuttlebutt, but it's nice to actually be home on the weekends. I think I guess the Eagles' first preseason game this year is August 7th. So August 7th through the Super Bowl, I'm away every weekend. You know the deal, right? A lot of times I'm doing 2 games a weekend, right? So one on TV, one on radio, but I wouldn't rather have it any other way. It's awesome. But I do enjoy, being able to be with my family on these weekends for sure.
It's a hard knock life that we live, Ross, and I think the same thing. Whenever you're sitting at 35,000 feet saying I'd really rather be home, you think to yourself, yeah, but I'm going to football games. Like, oh my God, what a life. And if 12-year-old me was told that this was my life, yes, I would sign up. I love it, and I'm grateful for it. And I will see you, oh, by the way, August 7th in Philadelphia, because the Browns have joint practice that week with the Eagles, and then the exciting preseason opener at Lincoln Financial, where you can I be in your Rate the Press Box Food video?
If you want to be, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's kind of the point now. It really is funny how like stuff you kind of are messing around with on social media can become a thing, right? Like, once or twice a weekend, I'll take a picture of whatever beer I'm drinking, and I'll say hashtag show me your beer. And the amount of people that reply back with right away with the beer that's in their hand right then is amazing. And then people are really into press box food. They are really curious about what the media gets served. I can't tell you how many times now, like when they see me coming, the PR staff or like the cafeteria or whatever, they're like, oh, he's coming. Like, and they try to make everything look better than it really, like they'll mix around like the pasta or whatever. Like they'll try to make it look better. Or I'll hear people behind being like, he's doing it. Or people be like, was that the real one? I'm like, no, I do takes. Yes, that was the real one. I go through what people are like, was that it? Was that the one you're going to post? Like, yes, that was it.
The great Ross Tucker, everybody. You should check out, again, Ross Tucker NFL is on the screen right now. All his social channels. He does great press box spread reviews. Philadelphia's not bad. We were there last year. Honestly, nothing sticks out. Nothing immediately sticks out. I think there were some decent donuts, if memory serves. The best ever I've ever seen was many years ago on a Thursday night in Minneapolis at US Bank Stadium. US Bank, right? They had a s'mores bar, like a make-your-own s'mores bar at halftime, and nothing has ever come close to that. Ross Tucker, as we get ready for the month off, right? Next week, mandatory minicamps, and then everyone cancels the final day of mandatory minicamp, and school's out for summer for exactly 1 month. What is, and I'm going to give you off-season topic bar, cliched, 101 here. What is the most intriguing OTA storyline for you, Ross Tucker?
Honestly, it's probably still when will Aaron Rodgers sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know people are probably sick of talking about it, but the whole situation to me is fascinating. You're talking about, guys, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, all right? By multiple accounts, he wanted to sign with the Vikings, who, by the way, tried to re-sign Sam Darnold. Then it got to a certain amount, and they said no. Tried to sign Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones said, I think I got a better chance in Indy, so he went there. Even the Steelers, okay, where Rodgers is going to sign, Andrew, they tried to get Matthew Stafford, and I know you know that, okay? Then they tried to get then they tried to keep Fields. Then they tried to get Darnold, right? So imagine being Aaron Rodgers, and the Vikings wanted guys like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, but didn't want you. And the Steelers, where you're presumably going to sign, they tried to get guys like Justin Fields and Sam Darnold, before they wanted you. I mean, it's got to be really humbling. Maybe it's not for him. I don't know. It would be humbling for me. And I think maybe it's one of the reasons, one of many, that he's still waiting to sign with them, as everybody expects that he will, is that he wants to still show he has some power, he has some leverage. It's funny because I can go both ways on this, right? On the one hand, as a 7-year journeyman offensive lineman, man, I'm jealous that he can just sign whenever he wants to and skip the whole offseason program. Like, that actually sounds kind of cool. On the other hand, he just can't. To me, it's not a really good argument for him this year to suggest at any point that he really cares about winning or cares about how this season goes. I mean, it's a new offense. It's, new skill guys. So if he does ultimately sign with the Steelers, like everyone expects will happen, we'll just watch next year, in September when he says to the receiver, oh, you do this, do that. Well, why are you going that way or this way, right? Well, maybe they could have worked that out in May or June when he wasn't there.
It's interesting, and I'm glad you brought up that angle. Ross Tucker here, Ross Tucker NFL, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. I think he wanted to go to the Rams, number one. I mean, first and foremost, Rams, then Vikings. Rams didn't happen. Rams would have been easy if Stafford went elsewhere. If they decided to move on from Matthew, he could just take, Las Virgenes or Topanga up every morning from Malibu, and it's an easy commute. Makes sense. Sean McVay, you got the weapons. It's fun. I wonder, Ross, if he is in any way, this is just pure speculation, apprehensive about being embraced by the Steelers fan base. Because I don't know if you notice this on your socials. Whenever I post anything about him on mine, I get a lot of pushback from Steeler fans online saying we don't want him. Now, a lot of fans do because they also realize he's probably their best shot this year at this point, right? And they've seen Mason Rudolph. We'd rather have Aaron Rodgers, at least see how it goes. But a lot of Steeler fans, I don't think are ready to embrace him. And I wonder if that factors here.
I think it does. I mean, there's a couple things, right? He has said publicly that he has personal stuff going on or people within his inner circle. I guess I would just submit to you, he's not the only player, right, that has people in their inner circle that are going through something right now. I think, number one, he doesn't want to be there for the offseason program. He's 41 and he doesn't want to have to go to Pittsburgh, for stuff that he thinks is pointless. If you remember, Andrew, the last CBA, he was pushing hard for you to not have to do anything in the offseason till training camp, right? Like, he was one of those guys, he really wanted the full 6-7 months off before training camp to have that time. I think he doesn't think there's a whole lot of point to it and doesn't want to really be there. And there probably is some truth to the consternation regarding the Steelers fan base. Listen, I live in central Pennsylvania. I know a lot of Steelers fans. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants him, right? Like, the way they look at it is he's not that good anymore. We're still not going to beat the Bills or the Chiefs or the Ravens or insert team here in the playoffs. So what's the point? To maybe win 9 or 10 games again and maybe have a first-round exit again? Steelers fans are kind of losing their patience with that. Other organizations would love to have a winning record every year and win double-digit games and make playoff appearances. That is not how they're wired in Pittsburgh. They have not won a playoff game since 2016. Most fans I talk to, and it's surprising to hear this given the track record of that organization, but they'd rather just go with Mason Rudolph or Will Howard. And if they lose a bunch of games, they lose a bunch of games. But at least it's a team that they'll be willing to cheer for. And if they lose a bunch of games, then maybe they can get their heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger that they obviously did not have waiting in the wings.
Yeah, or always picking 20 and 21, which is a horrible place to be if you're always looking, or if you're still trying to find your next quarterback? Talking to Ross Tucker here, there are also a million questions. Like, if they knew they weren't getting him, would they have paid DK Metcalf? But whatever, we could worry about that later. Let's talk about the other team in Pennsylvania. And you have the Eagles helmet over your shoulder, and you're doing Eagles games, obviously, as you have for a while now in the preseason. Saquon's on the cover of Madden. I'm happy for him. In no way do I believe in the Madden cover jinx or anything like that. The guy had an amazing season. I mean, any and every good thing you should say about Saquon Barkley, repeat it again and again and again. He deserves it. Part of me, though, Ross, is not concerned, but mildly skeptical that he can do it again. Not that I doubt his ability, but just history dictates it is hard to put that kind of rushing season after that rushing season. That makes sense? That's not even English. It's hard to do it back to back.
No. I know exactly what you're
for
saying.
The offense and for the player. Where do you stand on that?
It's a terrific point. And what I would tell you is a couple things. Number one, I don't think they want him to try to do that again, right? So whether they give the number 2 running back, presumably Will Shipley, the second-year man out of Clemson, I think they give him more touches. Maybe A.J. Dillon ends up, being productive. He gets more touches. But I also think they want to throw the ball more this year. I think that they kind of got away from the passing game a little bit because they were so successful running it that I think they'll put more on Hurts in the passing game with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They did bring back Goddard. Dallas Goedert, the tight end. That was up in the air. Plus, it's not just the track record, Andrew, of guys after big seasons like that. Saquon has an injury history, right? We all know this. When the Giants let him go to the Eagles, every Giants fan said, good luck, he'll get hurt in 5 games, or good luck, he'll never make it. Well, he had one of the best seasons we've ever seen. He won the Super Bowl, all those things. I'll also say this, Andrew, which I think is and maybe you can throw this back to me or Brockman or whoever, right? Saquon said something that I thought was really interesting, that he thinks that the Eagles are one of the best teams ever and that they're not really getting their proper credit. And I was thinking about, they were 2-2, okay? After they were 2-2 at the bye, they didn't lose again in a game in which Hurts played the whole game. They lost one game, maybe week 15, I think, to the Commanders, where Jaden Daniels had this great comeback, but Hurts got hurt in the first quarter. That's the only game they lost after September. And the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, they won by 30-some points. So I don't know why, and maybe you guys have the answer. I'm not exactly sure why more people haven't talked about the 2024 Eagles as being whatever you want to call them, a top 10 team ever, maybe a top 5 team ever, but they certainly have a lot going for them with basically arguably the best almost every position on offense, and then the number 1 defense in the league.
Brockman, go 30 seconds. I want to get to his futurefans.com thing, but go.
I completely agree with you, Ross, and I completely agree with Saquon. This team's being overlooked, and it's because their coach is an insane person, or that's the perception nationally.
You think this is anti-Nick Sirianni?
I do. I think that a lot of people outside of Philadelphia, maybe outside the NFL, casuals, think that he doesn't do anything, and he's just there for vibes, and it was all the coordinators. It was all Kellen Moore. It was all Saquon. It was roll the footballs out. Jalen Hurts, they do that weird play, the push thing that nobody likes, and that they're trying to get banned. I'm talking about what perception nationally. It's ugly. They don't like it. They don't like their style of football. But if you look at every metric, they dominated the NFL last year, and they dominated the back-to-back defending champs in the Super Bowl. Saquon had an all-time iconic season. Hurts is on a path to the Hall of Fame now. So is their head coach. So is Saquon. So is probably half the defense. And I think people need to be talking about it more.
Oh, boy. Okay, I have a lot to unpack there. But
what did I say that was wrong?
No, nothing. I'm not.
Thank you.
I just have something. I have some stuff to add. Great. But Ross, we need to do futurefans.com here because we're almost up to the break. And I know that you, as a great parent, you're trying to teach your daughter's football. Is that going well?
No, it's funny. It's funny because I do the Eagles preseason games and so much stuff for the Eagles during the season, I took my family to the Super Bowl and realized, man, I've done a terrible job. And my daughter's it was her 13th birthday. The other one's 11. Just based on the questions they were asking me, Maybe it's because I'm away every weekend, but I did not do a very good job. And I've heard this, by the way, all of my buddies, they cannot get their 6-year-old or their 8-year-old or whatever. They cannot get them to sit there and watch Eagles games or any team with them. They just want to be on their iPad. They don't understand football. So I met these guys from Futurefans.com. They have solved it. If you want to have a lifelong fan as a child or niece, nephew, grandchild watching the games with you, go to Futurefans.com. They're Bengals fans that a few years ago couldn't get their kids to watch the games with them during the playoff run, and their kids said, we'll watch it next year. And they're like, no, we're the Bengals. There is no next year. Like, we're not going to the Super Bowl or the conference championship game. So if you've ever wanted a way for anybody between 4 to 10-year-old maybe to actually understand football and want to watch the games with you, you got to check out Futurefans.com. And I think Brockman, Andrew, makes a terrific point. The reason why the Eagles don't get their due is because neither their head coach nor their quarterback are considered elite. It's very hard to have a team be considered elite when people aren't willing to put their head coach or quarterback there. And honestly, we could have that argument, but I think Brockman cracked the code.
He cracked the code. He's the Rosetta Stone of NFL elite arguments.
Just not in South Florida.
Not in South Florida. The great Ross Tucker, everybody. Ross Tucker NFL, the Ross Tucker podcast, the Ross Tucker football podcast. I appreciate you. Enjoy some time off, please, and I will see you in Philadelphia in like 2 months' time, my friend.
Show us your beer, Ross.
I will show you my beard this weekend, and
can't wait.
Let's enjoy these next 2 months, because once it starts, it's like going in the submarine. I'm down under until February, so these next 2 months will be very good for my social media if you like food and beer. At Ross Tucker NFL.
I love food and beer. We'll see you soon, Ross. Thank you, buddy.
See you guys.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.